Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy podcast. I'm so excited today to be hanging out with a former Australian elite gymnast who won Australia's national senior all-around title in 2013. She was on the 2015 Australian World Team. She was an NCAA superstar at Arizona from 2017 to 2020. Welcome to the show, Maddi Leydin.
Hey, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. That intro definitely made me sound really good. And yeah, it's really great to be here.
So, Maddie, when you went through your career, I mean, it was a long career of high level gymnastics, a decade or more of extremely high level gymnastics. I remember hearing that your coach at Arizona said that you were actually the most improved. He said that you were actually the most improved athlete he had ever worked with over 4 years. So, why do you think he said that? And how did you continue to improve after over a decade of high level gymnastics?
Yeah, I think when I went to college, it was a really different experience for me, having competed in elite level gymnastics in Australia. And at the time I went, I was a little bit burnt out and a little bit run down. And I think I had sort of lost a little bit of the joy and love that I had for the sport. And then going over to college really ignited that passion right back up and sort of helped me, find myself again in the sport. So I think him seeing me come in as a little bit kind of broken and run down, to then really, thriving over the 4 years and kind of improving as I went along. I guess, I pulled out some of my old tricks from my elite days, later on in college. So, and I guess I could pick them back up pretty quickly. So I think that's also, had a little bit to do with it. But I think as well, just like my quality of gymnastics just got a whole lot better in college because there is just that emphasis on, hitting handstands and execution and landings and all of that. So yeah, I think that's probably the main reasons why he said that. But yeah, what a what a great compliment to have after being, going through such a long journey with gymnastics as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's really interesting and not shocking that you end your elite career feeling kind of broken and burned out. I think that's a pretty common story among elite athletes. Now, if you had your way, what would you change to make it so that you didn't have to finish your elite career feeling that way?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question for sure. I think, when you're doing elite, it's very all or nothing kind of attitude with, everything's about gymnastics. You're training so much. School's kind of at on the back burner a lot of the time. And comparing that to college where it's everything's a bit more on an equal playing field. Like, yes, you're an athlete, but you're actually a student first. That's why it's called student athlete. And there was a bit more balance in my social life as well. So I guess having, the support and ability to kind of, broaden my perspectives and experiences and sort of balance out my gym life with some other things. I think that, that really would have been helpful. For me, because yeah, I guess I was just really drained by just having that only that one thing to really focus on. And I did really try to balance things out. My family was really good at trying to do that and trying to get me to some social events when I could. Um, but yeah, probably not enough in the end there. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think there was such a lack of balance? Was that your choice because you wanted it so badly? Was it kind of the culture and the expectation at the time? What
Mhm.
created that imbalance?
Yeah, I think it was a lot to do with the culture and the expectation that you're a gymnast and that's it kind of mentality, which I know is very common across the board across um, countries when we talk about kind of elite gymnastics and what its kind of mentality has been in the past. And I guess as well, like I kind of thought it was normal to do that too, to really just focus on that one thing because yeah, that's kind of the environment that I was in. And then yeah, having hindsight and reflecting on that, and having my experience in college, yeah, definitely opened my eyes to, a different way of doing things and a way that, did make me a happier, like healthier person and athlete, I think.
Well, and I would even say, and more successful as well.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
different type of success, of course. It's
Yeah.
not international elite gymnastics, but there are very high standards in college. But it's nice to see the contrast and go, hey, guys, if you're 12 and you want to be elite, you actually, like, can you have friends, Maddie? Is that possible? Can you go on family vacations? Do you think that you would have still been able to have the level of success if you had had, more school, more activities? Is that possible? Are there enough hours in the day?
Yeah, I do think so. Like I believe that because like there's so much in having a balanced sort of life. Because you don't want to get into a position where the only part of your self-worth is coming from gymnastics and when you have a bad meet or something like that's your whole person just crashing down, and that's not very healthy, and it's not real life either, I don't think. So I think it is really important to make sure you take the time to do that, and it's even more important for your longevity, I think, in the sport because it's a pretty intense thing to do. So you can get, burnt out really quickly if you don't take that time to do it. Yeah, I guess I wish someone had maybe told me that when I was young, that, a week off's actually not going to kill you. Even though sometimes it does feel like that or it seems like that.
Yeah.
Um, for sure. I guess, you always, you do put that athlete thing first, and you make sure you make choices when you do have that time off and in your social life that does keep that in mind. But I guess being a little bit more flexible and a little bit more open and able to sort of build up other parts of your personality, I think are really, really important.
Yes. Okay. So I want to talk about flexibility in a moment, but before that, I wanted to see, I think gymnastics gives things to us, that make us incredible at school and incredible at tasks and, really amazing time managers. There are things that come from working a long career as a gymnast before you even graduate college that make you a really quite functional human. And I also, like, I know it took some things from me. Like it took consent. It took my self-worth. So I'm curious from your perspective, what are the gifts that it's given you? And what did it take from you that you've had to kind of rebuild?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really, important thing to consider. Like, I think I would have a similar experience. And I think it just took a lot of like my autonomy and control away from me. I think a lot of that was dictated by other people in the sport. I think it took away opportunities for me to grow myself as a person. In terms of, yeah, as I was saying before, like other parts of my personality and interests and interacting with other people, and just being able to like show your personality through what you might wear, or your yeah, like your interests and tastes and things. I feel like that was a pretty small box that you needed to sort of fit into. um but I think in saying all that, like I don't regret it. I would not change it because it does give you those gifts, for sure. Like, I would not be the person I am today without going through gymnastics and all of that comes with it. I think, yeah, time management is something that I kind of, pride myself on. And I know that that's because of gymnastics, because most people have, 5 hours after school to do their homework when I might have one or two, um, with training in the morning and the afternoon, and then, doing homework at the end of the day. So I know that I can't mess around and, take a long time to do that. I've just got to switch on and get into the zone and, do that. And that's definitely helped me today doing, my master's degree as well. Like I'm trying to balance lots of things in my life at the moment. And, I'm confident that I can do that because of, what I've been taught in gymnastics. I think, it taught me a lot about teamwork and motivation and, leadership, I think, as well, particularly like in college. Um, I would probably see myself as one of the leaders of the team at the time. And I was always, bringing along the freshmen and, helping them out in the gym. And I, really, enjoyed that and valued that and take it into other aspects of my life now. There's lots of things it's given me, but I think, they're the highlights for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm thinking about my own time management and going, oh, that's probably why I am so good at like cramming things into tiny little spaces of time and then being like, oh, that's pretty good. It's like I had to. It's all the time that there
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And you add perfectionism to the mix. It's like you start functioning at an extremely high level in small
Mm.
amounts of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
gift for sure of being an athlete. So,
Mm.
okay, so then you went on to study psychology. So you are in your master's degree studying clinical psychology, which is another reason I was so excited to have you on. I'm like, oh, we can nerd out about
Yeah.
psychology and gymnastics. So so from the perspective that you have now, what were some of the most important mental tools that you used as an athlete that helped you to perform well?
Yeah. I think that, what drew me to psychology is really around what I um learned and observed when I was an athlete. And especially with gymnastics, it's such a, there's a physical side of things, but then when you get to the higher level, it's like all about like the mental game, I think. So I think, yeah, that's really what drew me in with psychology. So I guess what I did a lot of imagery sort of routines, like, right before I did my routine, I would always like have a little thing that I would do, like take some deep breaths, visualize me doing a good routine. We did a lot of that in training as well. Yeah, regulating the nervous system with breathing. I think trying, yeah, to sort of distance myself from the worries or the anxieties and things. I always had sort of like keywords or cue words that I would use when I was like on beam, to try and just keep my mind occupied on something that was simple instead of, getting caught up in, oh my God, I'm on a 4-inch beam, I might fall off sort of thing. So yeah, I definitely tried to sort of use those types of mental tools, as well as I always was like kind of pacing around or like trying to get out my nervous energy before I went and did my routines. And then, yeah, just like grounded myself with breaths or, yeah, putting my feet on the ground and things. So,
You're kind of famous for your dance moves, right? Was that part of that?
yeah, I would always have a lot of energy, I think, when I was around the competition floor. And I like to have especially in college, like a good time when I was out there. And yeah, that was my favorite part about college, was getting to kind of express myself a bit on in my floor routines. And I used like some Australian music and different music that you know, people haven't heard of very much before. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
So yeah, all of you like all of your thumb
Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah.
If you can't see it, imagine Brady Bunch. Like it's so cute.
Something like
Um,
a little bit of disco. And yeah.
yeah. Well, and why wouldn't it be fun? And you think about elite gymnasts of these like little robots, these little like
Mm.
monochromatic robots who all do the same thing. And in college, you like get to shake your booty a little bit, and like it looks like they're having a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would
And you
love for
are.
that to be more in the
Yeah.
club, like have
Yeah.
more fun, people, more cheering, more
Yeah.
high-fiving.
Yeah, I know. Like I loved that part of college, like, having your teammate just come and jump on top of you when you've done a good vault or something, or, yeah, the high fives and the hugs and just the cheering. I Yeah, because I never got that in elite gymnastics, and it was just so nice to sort of see the support and just yeah how much like fun you could actually have and still like compete at a really high level and still do um really good skills and things. I think there was this idea or kind of myth in elite gymnastics that you can't smile or have fun because you get distracted or you won't be able to do what you're supposed to do. But I've seen that in college like that, like you just need to have like a bit of like a break, like a point break where you get into the zone a little bit and you do what you need to do, but it doesn't have to be the entire time. So you can get really tired if you're trying to stay switched on for an entire meet. I think so. Yeah, it's like there is proof and evidence that you can see that that actually does help and you can still compete really well, even when you've got a smile on your face and you're having fun or showing your personality a bit.
Definitely. Well, Simone Biles got prescribed by her sports psychologist to smile. That was what they actually said. You have to have more fun or you're going to
Yeah.
burn out. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's a legitimate mental strategy, a positive distraction. If
Yeah.
you're going to be stressed out, focusing on what's going to go wrong, or you're going to be giggling about, something
Mm.
silly,
Yeah.
pick the second option because then it will give you a little bit more energy versus
Mm.
just sitting there being stressed out, like maintaining focus on
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
exactly while you're waiting for your turn.
Yeah. I think I was watching the NCAA championships a couple months ago and the commentators are saying that some of the gymnasts like ask their coaches to like ask them about what they're having for dinner or like what their pets' names are or stuff right before they go to just distract them a little bit from what's going on inside their head or the nerves that could take over. So I was like, yeah, like that's a really good strategy as well as you're saying, just a bit of a distraction.
Yeah. Okay, I would love to know more about your imagery practice because this is something that I know it's hard for kids to do sometimes because it's hard to sit and focus. It can be hard to start a practice. Once you get into it, you get better and better at it. You see more and more results. But I'm curious how you started your imagery practice and then kind of what did you actually do that really worked?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I don't even know when I started doing it. I can't pick a time actually. Like I know I did it a lot in college and I'm pretty sure I did it in elite as well. Um but I guess for me I always found it helpful to sort of move at the same time as doing it. So like because I'm yeah, I'm more of like a someone who learns by doing things. So I was kind of like seeing myself do it as well as like kind of going along with the rhythm of how I would be doing that skill. Like if I was, doing a kip caster handstand, I'd be like, doing that sort of rhythm of the motion. I think that that really helped me. And then when I was, yeah, if I was doing it for beam or something, like I'd be walking along the straight line and like kind of doing my cue words and sort of acting like I was actually in the moment doing it as well as seeing myself doing it. I think, that's what helped me. I know other people just kind of sit there or stand there and sort of watch it in their brain, but I kind of wanted to see myself doing it and feel myself doing it. I think that's maybe what helped me a bit. But I guess if you just start small with like visualizing one thing, one skill at a time before you get to the whole routine, that might be able to help build up the practice a little bit more. But yeah, as you said, it is a practice and you do get better as you go along, and as you get a bit older as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's such great advice because a lot of people who are more kinesthetic don't resonate with imagery initially because they don't see as strong images and they really need to feel it in their body. But the more you can allow yourself to feel it, maybe even watch a video and then walk around and keywords consistently, that's kind of how you install the keywords is in the imagery and then you're practicing it on the beam in real life, then you're imagining it, then you're walking through it. It's sort of all of that gets your mind body connection
Yeah.
really strong.
Yeah. And there's so much, research that suggests that like, watching yourself image, like doing imagery of yourself doing something is almost as good as doing it physically. So when I was, more older and I was a bit more injured, like I had to rely a bit more on that side of practice than the actual physical things because my body was a little bit broken towards the end there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and anytime you can get more quality reps with zero wear and tear on your body, like why
Mm.
wouldn't you want to add that
Yeah.
into your regimen? It just makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so I dug into a little bit of your past research while I was researching you, and I found a really interesting study that you did on test anxiety, and I think this directly relates to performance anxiety in sports. Obviously, you didn't apply it to that population, but there's so much crossover.
Mm.
And your question was, as far as people choking under pressure, is it more important to have mental flexibility or mental toughness? And I love this question because mental toughness, I think it's too good of a name. Everybody thinks that mental toughness is the solution to everything. But so
Mm.
what was your finding? And would you tell us a little bit about the research that you did
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Well, I kind of decided to do the research based on my experience in gym and realizing like that we, use these, tools a lot in sports and music as well with performance anxiety, but there wasn't a whole lot of these sorts of language and these sorts of tools for school and test anxiety when, that's as much of a performance and competition as, sports and music. So kind of took that lens and applied it to, it was about like 500 university students. We did some surveys and things. But yeah, it came up with this really interesting finding that, you know, mental flexibility was more important than, well, potentially more important than mental toughness. Mental toughness on its own was still a valuable an important characteristic, but I guess when we put them together, it sort of showed that psychological or mental flexibility was you know stronger or maybe more at the core, more of a core kind of concept that might be interesting to or important to kind of build up that side of things rather than the mental toughness. I mean, this is just kind of one sort of study in that's kind of looking at this, but it was very interesting because yeah, it's like there's a lot of research and a lot of kind of importance put on mental toughness, but yeah, it was kind of an interesting finding that's mental flexibility might be something to look at and consider as well.
Would you
And
tell us what the difference is and
yeah.
for someone who's like, what the heck is mental toughness even? What's your sort of working definition of those two concepts?
Yeah, I think like when I think of mental toughness, it's kind of like about resilience and bouncing back and overcoming obstacles and sort of like pushing through things.
To me, it
Um,
feels like push harder, just
yeah.
push harder. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it's sort of like just do it, just push. It's really a lot of people think that's the solution to sports.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Whereas I think, mental flexibility is more about making choices that align a bit more with like your values or where you want to go in the space of obstacles. So it's not kind of like getting past obstacles, it's like using tools when you're facing the obstacle to help you, change your mindset or kind of, um, go where you want to go, I guess. Yeah, it's sort of like in the presence of obstacles, we're choosing something helpful rather than trying to just get over the obstacle, I think is maybe how I would describe it.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Yeah,
coping with the obstacle versus just kind of shoving your way through it is sort
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's yeah. And of course I'm exaggerating. But it's
No, but
interesting to think that, a lot of people are like, you have to be perfect, you have to work hard, you have to push, or else, and that's the only way. But it's
mm,
actually perfectionism that creates this mental inflexibility that
mm,
so yeah, so I know you talk about in that study, some of the ways to get more flexible, to cope better with obstacles.
mm.
What were some of the things that either that you used in, coping with those obstacles that we haven't already talked about, or what can people do if they're, finding that they're having really bad anxiety about something?
Mm.
What are some coping strategies they can use to allow that anxiety to stop taking over?
Yeah, I think when we talk about mental flexibility, we're kind of drawing on acceptance commitment therapy, which is a lot about um, yeah, acceptance of things and then, taking committed action towards your values and goals. And it's really this values centered kind of therapy that's used for a lot of different things. But that, yeah, there's quite a lot of research into anxiety and using this kind of acknowledgement and acceptance piece. I guess when we talk about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, we're like trying to challenge the thoughts and try and change the thoughts. Whereas when we talk about ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, we're talking about sort of sitting in with the thoughts a bit more and acknowledging them, that they're there and they don't have to mean that we like that they don't have to mean as much, or they don't have to be sort of true or effective, or like don't take them for gospel. Because we can get into that mindset where the worries and things, they're telling us, oh, we're going to fall off, we're not good enough. Remember last time when we fell off, this kind of, we can get really stuck in these sorts of stories, and we might be able to fight our way through them, try and push them down, avoid them, get rid of them. But it actually might be more helpful to sort of say, oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous about this. And I'm going to put in some of these, I'm going to take a few deep breaths and ground myself. And, I get on with my sort of skill, because that's where I want to go. That's where I align my values with. So I think it's kind of like creating a bit of distance from the thoughts and not taking them as this kind of, with so much power. We kind of like trying to take the power away of thoughts. When we think about it, thoughts are just words. And if we wrote the words backwards, it wouldn't have the same meaning. So it's kind of really trying to, work a bit more with your thoughts and not against them. Sometimes I can go into a few more strategies if you want, but
Yeah, tell us more.
yeah, I mean, some of the, I hadn't used these as much when I was competing, but now that I know more, I probably would have liked to a bit. But I guess a lot of it is, around naming the thought, and kind of trying to take away, the power that it has. And I guess one way we can do that is to be a bit silly with it. Sometimes we can sing the thought. So you might sing it in a happy birthday tune or something. It kind of like takes away the power that it might have. And then, another one is kind of like thanking your mind, like, thanks for that thought. But I'm okay and I'm here and I actually really want to get on with this floor routine, or I really want to cheer for my friends. I want to stay in this moment. It's really about being in the moment, getting yourself back out of your head and into the moment a bit without trying to push away the thoughts. They're kind of the main two that you can use. But I guess, again, it's really just about trying to create some distance from the thoughts, and not taking them as so powerful, and they can controlling what we're doing, and getting in the way of being able to do the best routine that we can, but without fighting against them.
Yeah. One way that it sort of makes sense to me is that, if you think about, like, if you're a mountain and there's weather swirling around. I ask kids this question, and I go, okay, if it started raining, what would you think if you were a mountain? And they'd be like, oh, I'm all wet. Or, what would you think if the sun came out? I'm so hot. And I'm like, no, you'd be a mountain. You wouldn't have any thoughts. You would still be a mountain. There would be
Mm.
weather that would come and go, but you would be completely unfazed because you're still just a mountain.
Yeah.
And they're like, huh? And I go, well, this is kind of like your thoughts, that you're
Yeah.
you and you're having a fear thought and you're having a happy thought and you're having various mental weather kind of cruising in your atmosphere, and you
Mm-hmm.
can name it, you can say hello to it, you can thank it, you can, whatever, but you don't have to go, oh, I'm so hot now, and that you're
Yeah.
just still a mountain who's having weather swirling around. And
Mm.
if you can create kind of that distance from the thinking and just acknowledge it. Or there's a meditation I like where you imagine putting the thought in a balloon and labeling
Mm,
the balloon, planning, worry, whatever it
yeah.
is, and then imagine letting it float up to the sky and disappear.
Yeah.
That it's not that you're going, oh no, don't think, don't think, don't think, because
Yeah.
hi, athletes, how well does that strategy work?
Yeah.
Uh, but
Yeah.
you're spending a moment with it and then allowing it to not get its claws into you. And then
Yeah.
there you are in the present with your clear blue sky and no more balloons. And then you can go and kick and
Yeah.
pin or whatever your cue word is. And you're sort of like moving on. Thank you,
Yeah.
brain, for that thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it can be so easy to get caught up in there. But yeah, it's not very helpful a lot of the time. Like sometimes we need our brain to help us think and problem solve, but other times it's showing up. It's telling us, a story that we've heard a lot of times before. It's, giving us this worry thought that we might, yeah, we can sort of choose to let it be and float up into the sky.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just getting back to what your
Mm,
values are, which for what it sounds like to me is like, well, if my value is courage, or if my value is strength, or my value is self-compassion,
mm,
or, any of those things are what you would then revert to, or, if you're taking a test and you're
yeah,
going, I have to be perfect, I have to be perfect. It's going, oh, hello, perfectionism thought. I see you
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Take a breath and go, my value is that I've prepared and I've done the best I can,
mm,
and I will accept myself no matter how this goes. So let's start the test. That's going to be a more effective way, I imagine, than going,
yeah,
I have to be amazing.
yeah,
I have to do hard things only always. I don't know. Yeah. So, okay, I love that. And
yeah.
any other things that you have learned through your psychology training that you feel like would have helped you to have an easier or more pleasant or more confident path?
Um, I think just like learning a bit more about anxiety is is really helpful, like kind of where it comes from, like why we even have it, and that it's a pretty normal thing that a lot of people can get worried about, but it's actually it's a survival mechanism that we have. It's like our body and brain's really cool for being able to do this stuff because we do need it sometimes when we need to get out of danger. But sometimes it gets a bit overworked and it sort of sends these like false alarms that we don't need to actually flight, get away, flee, fight. So we don't need to do that in that situation. Not getting attacked by a crocodile or something. But our brain and body sometimes feels like that's what's happening. And I think, just knowing a bit more about that, and then reassuring yourself that, okay, this is anxiety showing up, it's okay, I'm safe, it's all right. Like I don't need this whole system to get to kind of kick into gear where our whole body's like doing all this crazy stuff. I think just knowing about that can be really helpful. And it's really just like takes the fear we have about being anxious away as well. And recognizing all the signals that we have in our body that tell us that we're starting to get anxious, and then noticing that like maybe you start to feel butterflies in your stomach, your heart's beating fast, like you might get sweaty, like knowing kind of the order that comes on and being like, oh, there's my heart beating, maybe I need to take some deep breaths so we can sort of like um, stop the cycle from getting out of hand. So noticing it a bit earlier, I think, and yeah, not being afraid of worry and anxiety. I think it would be the main thing because we can get a bit caught up in that, and that doesn't really make it any easier. It just increases our anxiety as well.
Yeah. I'm curious, did you ever perform really, really well while being really, really nervous?
Yeah, I mean, I've performed really well when I was in a lot of pain sometimes as well. And like, I was really nervous about that. And, about being in a bit of pain. But actually, sometimes I performed even better when I wasn't focusing on what I was actually doing. Sometimes like I just let my I was like, yeah, I just let my mind go. But I guess more times than not, I've competed well when I haven't, been so nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think for anyone out there who really struggles with nerves, ask yourself that question. Have I ever competed really well when I was really nervous? And most people can say yes to that.
Mm.
Yes, I competed my best when I'm locked in, present, connected with my body, not in the worry, in the possibility, in the curiosity and the open mind. I mean, that, yes, most people are going to perform
Yeah.
better in that state, but also a lot of amazing athletes have competed very well, very
Mm.
nervous. I can
Mm.
think of a dozen, really famous gymnasts who are like, I'm nervous every time. And there's a study that I love that shows it's not whether or not your body gets activated that impacts your performance, it's what
Mm.
you think about it. So if
Yeah.
you think, oh no, I'm so nervous, that's going to impact your performance more than, oh, there's the heartbeat, my stomach's
Yeah.
doing the thing, I'm a little sweaty, I'm a little
Mm.
tense. You're like, that's my go feeling. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That you can be highly activated and still
Mm.
successful. So that's something I wish my little poor sweet level 5 gymnast shaking on the beam self knew was
Yeah.
it's okay to have these sensations in your body. You can still be
Mm.
okay. And
Yeah. Yeah.
take a
No, I'm
breath,
so
girl.
nervous every time I did beam. Like my whole career, like that was like my most nerve-wracking event. And yeah, like still was able to do it most of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you've got some good accolades to show that you were able to work through that. So okay, we'll finish on this. If you could go back and talk to 12-year-old Maddie and
Mm-hmm.
give her a little bit of advice that would smooth out her path, what's the most
Mm.
important thing for her to know?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Yeah, I guess I think it would have been good if someone told me like um that getting injured is not the end of the world. So I think I dealt with it like quite a few injuries over my time, and there was a lot of in like setbacks and then comeback, setback, comeback. Kind of was really sort of up and down. But I guess every time I did get injured, like it hit me pretty hard, and took a bit of time to get back on track and motivated to come back, I guess, and like I don't know, just I think that just letting her know that it will be okay. It would be okay, like if you got injured and then you came back. And I think, as I said earlier, like that it's okay to take a little bit of time off, or have fun. You smile in the gym, bring out your personality, in any way that you can. And yeah, like take take the opportunities that come outside of the gym as well as inside of the gym. Um, yeah, probably that. That's what I would tell little me. Give her a
Great.
little hug.
I know there are some athletes out there who are like, okay, okay, I'm gonna get through this injury, or okay, I guess I'll
Mm.
go on the vacation with my grandma, or okay, owl smile. So if
Yeah.
any of you guys can just, ratchet that up a little bit, maybe you'll get a little more joy, which will actually make you
Mm.
better. There's
Yeah.
more research that says happy athletes are better. So
Mm.
find your joy and you'll be better at your sport.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like there's so many um, ways forward. Like there's so many I don't know, positive things that come from being a more well-rounded athlete, like a more well-rounded person in your life later on as well. So, keeping that in mind, like doing future you a little a solid as well as present you is always nice to think about.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's that blip on the radar that is gymnastics. And then you still have a body that you're going to want to be able to walk around in, a mind that still functions,
Mhm.
hunger cues that still are functional. You want all of that still be in place when you're done. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really important to keep the full picture in mind.
Mhm.
Well, Maddie, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If anybody wants to ask you questions or, keep track of you, are you on social media? What's our best way to find you?
Yeah. Yeah, I do have social media, like it's Maddi_Leydin. I don't post on it that often, but I do check it and feel free to, ask me questions on there. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. It's been really great. And it's like bringing my two favorite things together, psychology and gymnastics. So it's always great when we get to talk about that.
Absolutely. My two favorite things as well. So it's so fun to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, thank you.